Hey, Steve here at ACK, and today I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk to you about whitewater paddles, and most specifically about the different options available. Whitewater paddles come in several different materials. They of course come in different lengths, and they also come in different feather angles, and I'd like to go into each one of those aspects of the paddles to help you make a better decision when you're looking for a whitewater paddle. So first I want to talk about blade material. So in this particular case, I have an ABS blade. ABS, people commonly refer to plastic. The plastic blades or ABS blades commonly have fiberglass, a tiny bit of fiberglass integrated into them to give them strength. The benefits to ABS or plastic blades is they're super durable. They can really take a beating. The downsides are they can be very flexible. And so when you have a stiff blade or one that does not flex, more of your energy is passed from your paddle stroke to the water, making you more efficient. When you have a blade that is less stiff or more flexible, that blade will flutter or that blade will bend as you put more pressure against it. And when that happens, you lose some of that efficiency of paddling or of the paddle stroke. So plastic blades, super durable. They can be stiff, but they won't get quite as stiff as some of the other materials. But because they are durable and because they are flexible, you can get a lot of life out of a plastic blade. The next style of blade would be a fiberglass blade. Fiberglass is a very stiff material. It's also lighter than the plastic. It has very little, if any, flex to it, but not quite as durable as plastic. Plastic, you can really push off into the rocks and beat against sticks and any kind of submerged obstacles. Fiberglass you can push off with, but you really don't want to beat into anything. But like I said, the benefit is it's lighter and it's very stiff. After fiberglass, you go into carbon fiber. Carbon fiber and fiberglass are very similar materials. The main benefit to carbon fiber is it's even lighter than fiberglass. So for the sake of saving weight, which saves wear and tear on your body, carbon fiber is the best option. Of course, as you go from plastic to fiberglass to carbon fiber, it gets more and more expensive. So those are some things to think about when you look at blade materials. The same conversation pertains to the shaft of the paddle. Now the shafts of the paddle in almost all cases will be aluminum, fiberglass, or carbon fiber. Don't usually see plastic shafted paddles. And the benefits kind of go along the same lines of the blade proposition, where aluminum is very durable. It's relatively lightweight, but not as lightweight as carbon fiber or fiberglass. The aluminum has a tendency to get hot in the sun, so you need to take that into consideration. But beyond aluminum, when you go to fiberglass and carbon fiber, you have the same benefits as you do in the blade, being fiberglass and carbon fiber are very stiff and they're also very light, carbon fiber being the lightest, and therefore it makes your paddle strokes much more efficient and allows you to apply the energy that you're putting into the paddle straight to the water. So hopefully the overview of those materials will help you make a better decision when you're looking at your paddle, and you can make good choices based on your budget and how you think you'll be using that paddle. So the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to whitewater paddles is the shaft style. Typically there's really one of two styles. There's a straight shaft, and that's pretty self-explanatory. The paddle shaft itself is completely straight. And then there's the ergo shaft or bent shaft, depending on the manufacturer's terminology. And what you can see here is that in this shaft there is a bend that happens on both ends of the shaft. The reason for that is it's a more ergonomical position to hold the paddle. So when I grab the paddle in the area where it was designed to be held on an ergo shaft, I get a much straighter alignment of my wrist and my forearm. And if you take that in comparison to holding a straight shaft, I kind of changes the dimensions of my body, and it's a less comfortable position. So this ergo position, not only is it more comfortable, but it also provides for more power in my stroke. Ergo shafts tend to be more expensive, and the reason being, especially in whitewater paddles like these, is that this material, this fiberglass or carbon fiber that's in the shaft of the paddle has to be hand woven. So these ergo shafts are handmade, and that's why you'll find typically the ergonomic shafts or the bench shafts to be more expensive. But more often than not, for the serious paddler or the paddler really looking to get a lot of power in their stroke and looking for that efficiency, the ergo shaft is the way to go. So feather angle, first of all, it's described in degrees, and feather angle is the relationship between the right blade, which in this case is vertical, or imagine at 0 degrees, and the left blade, which is in this case tilted at 30 degrees off of 0. And so what the reasoning for that, or what that does, is when I make my paddle stroke and I insert the right blade and pull the blade through the water, my left blade is tilted enough where it's cutting through the wind. And when I come back and I slightly rotate my control hand, which is always my right hand, and I put the left blade into the water, my right blade is cutting through the wind. Now, feather angle in whitewater paddles is a little bit different than feather angles in touring paddles. And feather angle in the whitewater paddles a lot of times has to do with what I just described, but also has to do with paddler preference and paddler style. So and what's the difference between preference and style? So paddlers that have really high angle strokes typically like a higher feather angle. And that's because they're paddling really close to the boat and they're really getting the blade that's out of the water high in the air, and that can really affect them when it comes to wind resistance and how the wind affects that blade. But whitewater paddlers that like to paddle in play parks and like to do a lot of tricks in their whitewater boats, especially over the last 3 years or so, have a lot of times transitioned to a 0 degree feather angle, meaning that both the right blade and the left blade are in line with each other or are at 0. And that's because having both those blades in the same position allow them to perform tricks in their whitewater boats a lot easier and a lot better, especially when it comes to doing flips and rolls. So what I'm really saying here when it comes to feather angle is there's a lot of personal preference. The standard for a long time was 45 degrees, and we offer a lot of versions in 45 degrees. This paddle in my hand is 30 degrees. That's also a very popular feather angle. But if you're doing a lot of play boating, you may want to do a little more research and consider a 0 degree feather angle. So I've helped you kind of put to mind what feather angle means and why you would want to choose a different feather angle. And also, I do want to mention that we are happy to order a paddle in any feather angle you want. So if you have a specific need, you want 15 degrees or 20 degrees or 50 degrees, all of that is completely possible. You can just give us a call and we'll be glad to help you out. So as I've demonstrated, there's a little bit to think about when it comes to picking your whitewater paddle. There's the material of the blade, there's the material of the shaft, there's the determination whether or not you want a straight shaft or a ergo, or otherwise known as bench shaft, and then of course there's the feather angle. Hopefully there's enough information in here to help you make an informed decision. If you have any questions, drop us a line at customer@ack.com or give us a call. We'll be happy to answer all your questions, and we look forward to outfitting your adventure.